What's going on, guys? Welcome to the Club and Sub Podcast, episode number 3. I'm hosting today. I'm John Stargarian, MMA. I'm here with C. Hansen 10, Lags, which is at Lags_the Capper. I've been sparring with Reality Betting. That's Luke, and that's SWR MMA on Twitter. Quinn, and he is at Orthodox1993. We're going to just do a brief recap of all of our plays from Wednesday night's card, and then we're going to jump into Saturday's card. So here we go. Yeah, so Wednesday night, I had a few plays, did pretty well, came out up 6.78 units. I obviously, starting from the top, I had Kelleher against Azur, which I personally don't really think was the right side of that. Azur looked pretty solid. I mean, pretty lazy in the pocket, which is probably why he got caught, but, happy to cash. I had Benitez for 2 units against Morales. Can't really say if it was a good play or a bad play. I expected Benitez to be a little bit busier than he ended up being, and he just wasn't. And the same could be said for my next play, which was 2 units on Felipe Lins against Andre Arlovski. I think everything we saw in the tape indicated that Lins was going to be a pretty high output guy. And, Luke, you actually called this out when you and I chatted about this fight earlier in the week. But it seems like level of competition played a huge factor in that because he basically didn't throw at all. And then I had Ricky Simon for 3 units straight at -150. And I also had him parlayed up with Tujara Eubanks. Obviously, not much to say about Eubanks. She absolutely smashed Sarah Morath. As far as Simon goes, to me, I was shocked at how many people were on board pretty much all week. It's one of those things when you have 2 grapplers and one's flat out better technically and is also bigger, it tends to be pretty straightforward. Thought the split was kind of crazy, to be honest, but whatever, happy to cash it. And then I had a unit on Alex Hernandez at even money. That was a goddamn disaster. He obviously got... Yeah, that can't even almost say that was the right side. He got absolutely killed by Dover. And then I rode Lags' coattails with the Rothwell by decision plus 450, which worked out pretty well. And then I had a unit on Glover, jumped in there late, and Smash City. So plus 6.78 units on the night for me. C, how'd you do?
I did all right. I think Sherman, I had him by decision. That was gross. Mogley by knockout and fight doesn't go to decision. Those were both gross. Eubanks inside the distance, no good. Michael Johnson by knockout, no good.
I'm gonna leave real quick.
But those were all smaller.
Hey, I'm gonna leave real quick. I can't hear him. I can't hear C here.
All right, yeah, it's coming back. Yeah, keep going, C.
And then, so I played those just as like smaller props. And then Ricky, that was a big one for the day. I took him straight, and then I actually added and took him by decision. Alexander Hernandez sucks. Took him straight and by submission, but clearly that guy has negative brain cells. And then Glover, I took him by knockout. I took the over, and I took him straight. So ended up doing pretty decent.
Nice. Quinn?
I was 6 units total on the night. My only actual tracked plays was on Glover. I didn't really see a whole lot of value on anyone else. I hit Glover at plus 700.
I can't hear Quinn.
Really? Can you guys hear me?
Keep going.
I hit Glover at plus 700 for 3 units profit. I was stoked on that because he kept going for subs the entire time. So I was like, I was sweating it. I was cringing the entire time. The fight was it was horrible. I'm disgusted with his corner. I had Glover straight for 1.5 units. Cashed on that. That was awesome. I hit Arlovski at plus 180. I think after the second round, I thought that line was absolutely ridiculous.
After the second, really?
I think it was after the second. He was up like 15 to 16 significant strikes. And my book had plus 180, and I was just like, what the fuck is this? So I hit it. Could have gone either way. Kind of disappointed in how Lins fought. I thought he could have been a lot busier on the feet. And then I hit one more. God, I don't remember who else I hit live. But yeah, 6 units profit on the night. I was pretty stoked. It was all on Glover though, really. I was kind of really confused with like his line and how heavy it moved. I think a lot of non-sharp betting was very high on Smith. I saw people parlaying Smith, and I was just so confused the entire week. Like I was so high on Glover. Like I just thought he was the all-round better fighter. I think his durability issues were pretty overblown. And I was saying all week that Roberson and Eon both probably are better technical strikers in my opinion and hit harder than Anthony Smith. I also thought it was really, really bad fight IQ by Smith's corner to tell him to throw the kitchen sink in the first couple of rounds. He completely gassed after the second round. And then it was just gross after that. It was just me screaming at my TV. So good fight card, though. Good fight card, though. I was very happy with it.
All right, Lags, how about you?
So I had Dober, which that was nice fight on that one. Simone by decision, Rothwell by decision plus 480. Then my parlay with Azure and Eubanks. Azure just kind of, did the damn thing, but whatever. And then the Degen parlay, I had Rothwell, Dover by KO, Ricky Simone, and Glover by cyber points. And the Glover by cyber points was the slight miss on that. So I ended up 3-2, but 5.2 units.
Nice, Luke.
I did hit Rothwell. I'm trying to pull up the line, but I did hit him live at some point. But I was sweating. You were at OSP drop you in the right as the bell rings in the second, and then right as the bell rings in the third. Like what the fuck was that?
Luke, how'd you do?
Yeah, I ended up the night plus 2 units. Probably should have been a better night, to be honest, because I went 3-1 on bets. But so just a quick rundown. I jumped in on Chase Sherman pretty early. Got him at plus 135. Just threw a unit on him. I didn't go stronger in terms of unit size just because of the volatility of the matchup, and it's Chase Sherman. So I think he could have easily looked 10 times worse than that. So
yeah, he looked about minus 300 in there. That was
yeah.
So,
he looked great. He looked good. I mean, Ike was horrible, but that was a fantastic bet.
Yeah, so hindsight 2020, it would be easy to say I should have laid more units there, but I'm fine with the smaller play on a volatile matchup like that. And then probably my happiest play of the night was Arlovski Linz over 2.5 at plus 105. I know I saw a lot of people pretty high on Linz. I was really contemplating taking Arlovski early on, but I thought just to play it a little bit more safe, I thought I would take the over there. I didn't think Linz was going to get off on his strikes, and he didn't due to a lot of Arlovski's awkward movements and whatnot. So I was happy about that one. And then my one loss of the night was minus 1.5 units on Morales and Benitez under 2.5 at plus 130. I thought that was a decent violence bet. I thought there would be a little bit more aggression and some bigger pocket exchanges than there was. Morales was a little bit more composed. I thought if Benitez kind of got in there and tagged him a little bit, he might go after him a little bit more. We did see that in the third round. Morales kind of picked it up a little bit, but a little too late there. So not a great bet, but is what it is. And then to end the night, I cashed Smith Teixeira starts round 2 at minus 260. So a pretty chalky prop, but I thought that one was a pretty easy layup there. I thought Smith was going to come out actually a lot slower than he did, and it was the opposite, which ultimately ended up what kind of fucked him in the end, to be honest, in my opinion. But nonetheless, I banked on Glover being able to weather the storm. He did and took over. So yeah, I ended the night plus 2 units. I'm really pissed I didn't play the Rothwell decision play from Lags. Because I know you got him at what, like plus 460, right?
Plus 480.
Plus 480, yeah. And at my books, I was seeing it was like plus 300 or something. So there's still value. I'm like, I was really hoping for that like above plus 400 number. So I kind of got greedy there because yeah, if I hit that, I would have had a really, really solid night there. I probably would have put at least like probably 0.75 half units on there. But all in all, pretty good night plus 2 units.
I still couldn't believe that was a split.
Agreed.
Yeah, that was
you know what the weird thing is about the Smith fight was that like I saw a bunch of people on Twitter talking about like oh, Anthony Smith quit, or how did he not have the cardio? He's always had the cardio. And it's like, guys, the reason nobody likes Anthony Smith is because he's super low output. He threw more strikes in the first 2 rounds than he's thrown in any fight in his career. Like, it's not overly shocking when he didn't get him out of there that, he gassed out. That it was just crazy.
And during the grappling exchanges, he had the 2-1-1 on Glover's arm, so it was really hard for Glover to posture up. It was really hard for Glover to sub him. I watched a lot of his fights, and he does that a lot. He did that very well versus Volkan, which is why they both gassed out in that fight. He's very, very good at holding positions. Smith is very hard to sub.
Yeah.
So that's why I think that's why we all went with the KO prop, honestly, and obviously that was the right prop. He could have ended it after the second round by TKO, honestly. Smith was done.
Yeah. So anyway, we are on to UFC Fight Night 172, Overeem versus Harris. Not a great card unless you're a hardcore. Some banger fights, but we'll start it right away with Rodrigo Nascimento and Dante Mays. I have no play here. Seen some people on either side of it. Mays stinks, and Nascimento, as far as what I've seen, is just nothing I've seen. He's got 7 minutes of fight footage online, so it's I've seen people trying to cap it. It's I don't really know how you can cap Nascimento anywhere based on 7 minutes of footage. Mays may be bad, but he's athletic, so I have no play. I guess if you put a gun to my head, I'd go with Mays here. See, how about you?
Yeah, I think if you're really playing this, it's just a fade of Mays, just based on limited footage. But I took a shot on the Brazilian by knockout. It's 10-1. Just figure maybe he takes him down, gets ground and pound. So I don't have any real basis for it. It's more of just fading Mays.
Yeah. Quinn?
Mays sucks. He's been on the Contender Series 2 or 3 times. He gets hit more than he lands. He's just not a good fighter. He's gonna get knocked out in the UFC probably multiple times. Like John said, there's just not enough information on Nascimento. I think he seems like he has a semi-decent ground game. I'm sure he can land takedowns, and I don't know what the sub prop is, but that might be worth looking at. But there's just so little tape. He was plus 115 the day before yesterday on my book, and I was heavily considering playing him, but 70% of UFC fighters losing their debut or something like that, and it's just not a smart. It's more of a pass. We should use this. You should really use this fight as a opportunity to see just how good Nascimento is.
Agreed.
There's way better plays on this slate than betting a low-level heavyweight fight. So that's about it.
Completely agree with you guys. Low-level heavyweight fight. I have no play here. So Nascimento by sub is plus 150. I don't think that's quite enough for me to play that. And my book's minus 110 both sides, and the under 1.5 minus 110. I'm not really seeing anything there, so complete pass for me. I would say, if anything, maybe a fade of Mays.
Yeah,
that would be it. That'd be it for me.
Definitely fade Mays.
Luke.
Yeah, I was hoping one of you guys was going to have some inside scoop on Nascimento. I just didn't. I wasn't seeing anything, or there was more footage out there on him. But yeah, to what you said, John, there really isn't just enough out there on him to make a real accurate assessment. And then just kind of looking through his record, not to WikiCap or anything, but we all know about the spotty Brazilian regional scene. The dude's fighting 0-0 guys, 0-1 guys, 1-2 guys. So the record's extremely padded. Seems like a decent jiu-jitsu guy, I guess. And then one thing I'll give the Mays credit for, I actually did a decent amount of tape on him. It seems like he has improved his takedown defense slightly, but overall the guy's pretty much kind of what you said, Quinn. He kind of just sucks. He's sloppy. He doesn't look good. In the opponents he's been fighting have been pretty lackluster as well. So I capped a Mays at minus 150, but far from a confident cap there. So yeah, this fight's a definition of a pass for me.
Agreed. And next fight of the night, another fairly low level fight here. We got Courtney Cast Iron Casey against Mara. I don't know if she has a nickname, Barilla. I actually have 2.5 units here on Casey. Not very comfortable with it after how she looked at the weigh-in. That was pretty ugly. But I mean, basic thinking is I think Barella is horrible. Like Casey's been disappointing throughout her career, but she's fought, pretty good competition. And I know it's her first fight at 125, but she was a giant for 115, and she's actually taller than Barella is here. And just like you look at Barella's volume, and outside of the Chikagian fight, where everybody throws volume against Chikagian, they're generally air punches, as it was there. She just has never shown the ability to do it. And so Casey, she's landed 100 significant strikes multiple times in her career. She's over 90 a few other times. So I trust them on the feet to throw volume. In terms of the grappling, Casey can't really defend takedowns, but we talked about this in the group chat today. Barella's a blue belt with really bad positional control, and so if she does take her down, Casey's shown the ability to really put. Claudia had trouble controlling her on the ground, and she's given, some pretty high-level submission artist issues down there. And so my big concern is, maybe she gets taken down and, loses a couple rounds via top time. But I have a feeling if she wants to get up, she'll be able to. And I think she can put Barella in serious trouble. And on the feet, like I said, I think Casey's got she does have a massive volume edge. And Barella might be one of the only women in the UFC who's got legit Weidman chin problems. She's been finished 4 times. Got knocked out cold by Lauren Murphy, and then got dropped by Montana De La Rosa in her last fight. So it's just Casey can kind of swing a bit for a female fighter, and so I just think she's got an edge everywhere. She could lose via just poor fight IQ, but so I'm on Casey. Quinn, any place here?
I completely agree with you. I'm 100% on Casey. I wish her line was minus 130, minus 125. I'd play her. She's minus 155 in my book. Maybe Casey by decision at minus 115 is probably a good bet. I don't rate Barella at all. She has horrible striking. I think she'll be able to land takedowns on Casey, but Casey has a decent guard. She throws up a lot of subs. She put a few girls into quite a bit of trouble. I rate Claudia's grappling probably higher than a lot of people. I think she's fantastic on the mat, and she didn't like Courtney's guard at all. Courtney's a legit brown belt. I don't really see Barella advancing on the mat very well. Standing up, Courtney has a significant striking advantage. I don't really rate Courtney striking that well, but she does have power. She does throw the volume. Barella's garbage on the feet, absolute just straight trash. And like John said, she got dropped by Montana De La Rosa, who has pillow hands. She got knocked out by Lauren Murphy, who I don't rate high at all. I literally think Lauren Murphy sucks. I think Courtney Casey rolls here. I think if you want to put a flyer prop on, you could play her by knockout at plus 900. Very, very small.
Agreed.
I am debating on doing that, to be honest. Barella's chin is fucking dust. So
Lags. You got any place here?
No, honestly, just complete pass here. It's similar, just to kind of the heavyweight fight. They're both a low level women's MMA fight. Not really expecting much here. I'm seeing a hairy, maybe split decision here. I know you guys are high on Courtney, but I just think the weight she's moving up in a weight after this. I think is it this fight or next fight?
This fight, she's moving up.
This fight, yeah. So I just don't rate her high, but I think she's enough to beat Barella. So to be honest, it's just a complete pass for me. But Quinn, I got KO at plus 700, but I'm probably just gonna stay away from it.
Luke, how about you?
Yeah, not to add much. I think you guys summed it up pretty well. Just kind of a dumpster fire of a fight, to be honest. Probably the biggest dumpster fire out of the entire card. We could get proven wrong with the one we just touched on before. With that heavyweight fight might take the cake there. You never know. But so I mean, I see what you guys are saying in terms of the numbers. She's a brown belt versus a blue belt. We got higher output here, and I largely favor output in terms of relatively low-level women's MMA, just because there usually isn't that big knockout potential, or there isn't any massive things that are going to sway the fight in terms of the eyes of the judges. So I usually favor output. But honestly, I'm picking Barella here just based straight on value. I've been so low on Courtney Casey throughout the course of her entire career. I just would not be surprised if she lays a 100% complete egg. And if I do have to say anything about Barella to like give her any sort of props, if she is able to get into the clinch, she does have really decent body locks and trips, inside and outside trips. So now once it gets to the ground, obviously we have that jiu-jitsu discrepancy. But I mean, in 10 fights, we can talk about the strength of competition for Courtney Casey as well. Obviously, she's fought exponentially better girls. But then again, at the same time, she's only secured 1 submission in her 10 UFC fights. So I think kind of like banking on that she's going to submit Barella. Maybe she could. We saw Montana De La Rosa have a ton of success taking Barella's back. So we could definitely see that. So definitely not a confident pick. Definitely not telling you to run to the window to bet Barella or either girl here. This is another definition of a pass for me. But I'm just going to throw a little flyer on my drug queen pin and Mara Barella.
See, how about you?
Yeah, kind of what you guys said. Barella's not really good. Pretty much sucks. Sweating out, maybe, probably a decision. Not too keen on it, but I mean, I can convince myself, more times out of 100 that Casey looks like a -300 or -400 here than I do that, Barella even looks like even. So I would say, Casey inside the distance is worth maybe a little stab. Even if she's on her back, I think the sub's live.
Agreed. All right, and then on to the next fight. We actually have a fun one here at featherweight. It's Darren the Damage Elkins against Nate the Train Landwehr. I actually picked up Elkins for a unit at +105. Just basic thinking here is, Landwehr is intriguing, and he's the kind of guy that, if he's going to be facing somebody else, will go to war with him. The cardio is going to be there and the outfit's going to be there. The problem is, I think Elkins has kind of mistakenly gotten this aura about him, or this thought that he is this guy that wants to go to war. And I think he has done that, but it's mostly against grapplers who are much better strikers than him. Elkins' game is really based around grappling, and he attempts takedowns at a pretty high rate. He lands them at a pretty high rate. Okay, submission grappler. And, I worry about his chin. The Hall fight was scary. He's taken a ton of damage over the years. But, I did a pretty deep study on Nate's wrestling on M1. He wasn't taken down that many times, but when he has been, it's just he's looked bad on his back. And the M1's good, but it's not it's not the UFC. And I just kind of feel like once Elkins gets his hands locked around him in a body lock, he's going to just basically be able to keep hold position on the fence and take him down multiple times, possibly finish him. Nate's obviously super live for a KO. It's why I only put a unit on it. But I just think Elkins has a pretty sizable grappling advantage here. And while, I'd favor Nate in the striking, especially from a durability standpoint, even though he's been known to have a little bit shoddy durability as well. If I'm getting plus money on a guy that I think has a sizable grappling edge, I feel like I have to take it. And so, I have a unit on Elkins +105. Lags, you got anything here?
No, I actually don't have anything here for right now, but I'm actually leaning the under 2.5. Under 2.5 sitting at +150 right now. I haven't pulled the trigger on that yet, but to pick a side, to be honest, I just think Elkins takes too much damage to trust them, and there's too much questions with Nate's chin right now to get. He was knocked out by Herbert Burns by a knee. We didn't expect that at all. So I mean, I think the under 2.5 definitely a look for me, but no play for me right now.
Agreed. Luke, how about you?
Yeah, similar to Lags, the under 2.5 is something I've definitely kept my eye on. I haven't pulled the trigger on it yet. I do favor Elkins slightly in this fight. But I mean, kind of similar to Tony Ferguson. Obviously don't want to make the direct comparison, but it's kind of similar in the sense that, the dude's, I mean, he's just taken so much damage over the course of time. Obviously Elkins exponentially more, but what I'm getting at is it's that same question of when's that one fight where he's not going to be able to take that anymore? Yeah. And I'm not saying it's this fight. I mean, we never know. He's obviously the more tested guy, fought the better guys. So I am picking Elkins. I think you did have a pretty good bet there, John, at plus money. I definitely wouldn't advise taking him at chalk at all, but I really think how this fight's going to play out, he's going to weather that early storm of Landwehr. And I actually like him to secure a submission either late in the second or third, because as you said, kind of in M1, like his defensive grappling isn't terrible, but when he's taken down, he can be controlled. And I don't want to see
Flattened out easy.
Yeah, I don't want to say he's like a complete fish out of water, but a guy in Elkins who's had just an immense amount of experience in terms of the grappling. I feel like Landwehr might be a guy where if Elkins is able to kind of ride his back against the cage a little bit, pop some punches, he might be able to give Elkins an opportunity to either slip in a choke or finish something off late. So yeah, I like Elkins here in the spot, but I'm definitely potentially looking to target that under if I can secure a bit of a better price.
See?
Yeah, nothing here. I think Elkins likely just dominates the grappling, but versus Ryan Hall, I mean, he was not wearing those shots too well, and I tend to not think that Ryan Hall has much pop, so it's kind of hard for me to tell like where Darren is in terms of his chin. So I'm just gonna pass.
Quinn, how are you?
I actually have a play. I was able to get Elkins at plus 100. He's now like minus 135, minus 140 on my book. I would not suggest laying chalk on him at minus 135, but I think he has a significant grappling advantage. I think Nate is wild in the pocket. He's very aggressive. He can get countered. Elkins can land body locks and double legs off of Nate's horrible, just aggressive striking. Darren lands 2.5 takedowns per 15 minutes. I think he's going to be the best grappler that Nate's seen. I think he's going to land at least 3 to 4 takedowns. I think he's going to be able to grind Nate on the ground. I think Nate's just pretty overrated, to be honest with you. I actually favored him versus Herbert, and just watching his performance versus Herbert was just not inspiring at all. So I'm happy about my dog money betting Elkins. I love betting guys like Elkins. He will fight for your money from bell to bell. I am worried about his durability, like everyone else is, but I'm willing to lay the 1 unit bet on him to see if I'm right. We'll see how it goes. It's going to be a good fight.
And next up, we have one that just became official today with Giga Chikadze against Erwin Rivera. Personally, it's weird. Like, I saw the line drop on 5 dimes at minus 225 this afternoon. And, like, I almost played it without even taping Rivera, knowing it would get steamed. But it's like, I can't do that. I dove in a little bit. And, like, Chikadze's a 6-inch height advantage, 6-inch reach advantage. Like, he should be able to clean this up. At the same time, Rivera can shoot a double leg. And pretty much, I literally don't think I can play Chikadze for any amount of money, especially minus 400. Against anybody with a functioning wrestling game. Like, I think Chikadze should kill Rivera, and I expect that to happen, but his grappling is so poor, and, it's improved, but I still, he gets too easy to take down. He gives up position too easily. Like, he's reversed himself out of mount a couple times in a couple fights, but, like, that's more of a function of the people he's fighting than it is. Like, you get in the mount against somebody who's a decent or a competent grappler, like, you're not going to end up back in top control. That's generally not. Usually they're going to end up on your back when you try to get out of it. So it's like, I don't know. Chikadze should win. I mean, he's minus 400 right now. I think last time I saw, I have like,
minus
I guess I have no issue. 325. I have no issue with the line, but like if you put a gun to my head and you're like, maximize the most units you can make on this card, I'd pick like Rivera here. Luke, do you have any take on this fight?
Yeah, honestly, I'm probably going to default to you guys in terms of Rivera. I haven't taped him at all. So honestly, I don't know too much what to expect from him. Just from some of the general discourse I've seen, it seems like he's decently well-rounded. He does possess somewhat amount of grappling, which is obviously definitely a consideration against a guy in Chikadze. But just to touch real quick on your point in terms of him reversing mount, I believe that was against Brandon Davis a few times. Yeah. I think that was largely a function of just where they ended up landing in terms of the takedown. So he was, and Chikadze, he's a really long guy. So he's, the position he had, he was kind of already hunched against the fence so he could use it as leverage and essentially pop over. So I'm not going to like fault him for that necessarily, but I think that was more so just of kind of how they landed up, less so based on like a technical reversal or a sweep or something like that. So I guess I wouldn't look too much into that particular scenario, but Yeah, man, Chikadze at this kind of chalk against a guy. Once again, I haven't done any tape on him, but from what I've heard, relatively well-rounded. I definitely wouldn't recommend laying anything here. So pass for me.
See, anything for you?
Just pass. I don't think Rivera's good. And if Giga was like minus 225 where he opened, I would play it, but I don't really want to eat all that juice on that. I mean, he should be able to just work him at range. I've seen Rivera just kind of sit in kickboxing range versus other opponents, and if he does that versus Giga, I mean, Giga looks like minus 800, but who knows? I'm not confident. I mean, he's terrible off his back, and Rivera could shoot, but I doubt it. I just wouldn't play it at that price.
Quinn?
I mean, I did a little bit of tape on Irvin. I saw him get taken down and controlled by a part-time fighter, a social studies high school teacher. And he had issues with the guy. Like, the guy reversed him at the end of the first round, and it was super weird. And it just seemed like Irwin didn't really give a fuck. It was weird. I mean, he was working the guy on the feet, and then I don't know. I wasn't impressed at all. It's a hard pass for me. I don't like Giga at all. I don't think his kickboxing game transitions to MMA very well, and I don't think he has spent much time putting on a gi at all. So yeah, it's a hard pass for me. I heard that Irwin's a purple belt in jiu-jitsu, but yeah, there's no way you can lay actual money on this fight. There's no way. You don't know what type of conditioning Irwin's in at all. Giga fucking sucks. He should light him up on the feet, but it's a hard pass for me, honestly.
All right, Lags, how about you?
Yeah, I'll be honest. I'm not going to waste a lot of time here. I didn't tape Irwin at all. It's a late replacement because usually with these late replacements, you get huge juice lines like we have right now, minus 325 Giga. If anybody's telling you to lay that, they're crazy. There's no way you trust Giga at 3-1, almost 4-1. So I mean,
literally anyone.
Yeah, I mean, literally anybody. But I mean, if you're gonna touch anything, maybe Giga decision if there's any value on that. But I mean, it's a complete pass. I don't even know what are the odds on that. Anybody have it up?
Do they even have?
I don't have props for that at all.
They probably don't have props for tomorrow. I bet you might actually get a decent number on that, to be honest.
Because they probably think he finishes them. Because I see the
under
2.5's minus 140.
Yeah, so you probably get a plus number on it. Well, maybe not that good then, actually. It's 2.5. So.
Yeah, I think, to be honest, to intrigue me at all, I think I would need maybe plus 180.
Yeah.
Plus 200, something like that. Something to
probably won't get that either. That's
no way.
All right, so the next fight we got a good one here. Well, I don't know if it's a good one, but it's one I'm invested in. We got Anthony Fluffy Hernandez against Kevin Trailblazer Holland. I have 3.5 units on Hernandez. I said this to Steve before you guys got on the stream, but Kevin Holland to me is a guy who looks like Tarzan, fights like Jane. The guy's he's got a great frame. He's got a great frame. He's super athletic, but he's got, I guess, tools. Like he has, he's a brown belt in jiu-jitsu. Like he's got a bunch of knockouts regionally, but he hasn't really flashed that same power in the UFC. The only time he's flashed any volume was against John Phillips, and everybody flashes volume against John Phillips. So it's unreliable, and it seems like the guy is just in messy scramble fest after messy scramble fest. And so it's he's got a good submission game, no doubt. I don't think he can use that frame to keep distance here. And on the other side, Hernandez, it's he's young, he's raw, he's definitely rawer than Holland is, but he's going to shoot takedowns. He spams them at every level and on the regionals end, in the UFC. That guy Park, who he beat, as it turns out, actually seems like he's pretty decent. He destroyed Barrio on the South Korea card. And I can rely on, I think Hernandez will almost certainly land multiple takedowns here. Holland doesn't defend takedowns well at all. I think his rate's 48% or something. And while, I've seen, the idea that, he's going to just be able to reverse position a bunch of times because, that's what Kevin Holland does. I'm not really sure I buy it. If you actually watch Hernandez's fight with Brendan Allen in LFA, there's a lot of reverses in round 1 and round 4 of that fight. But there's two things there. Number one, the vinyl floor mat they use is absolutely ridiculous and stupid. And they were slipping and sliding all over the place. But the second thing is in the other 3 rounds, when he didn't try to go for a guillotine and take himself out of position, he basically was able to just control Allen, who I can personally think is a better grappler than Holland, was basically able to control him on the mat with ease and pretty much dominate those rounds. And I saw an interview with him where he said basically his goal here is control. And I really do think, Holland could attempt subs, but unless Holland either improved his ability to keep distance, improved the takedown defense, or just a technical get-up game, I just think Hernandez is going to win this fight at like close to like a 67, 68 clip here. So yeah, 3.5 units on Hernandez. That's my play. C, what do you got here?
I actually haven't looked into this one, so something I'm going to do later tonight.
Quinn, how about you?
I favor Fluffy. Holland he's a mystery to me. He sometimes shows brilliance and like great fight IQ. And then there's other times when he just shows absolute shit fight IQ. Like his last fight, I don't understand why he kept grappling with that guy. It was extremely frustrating. He has like a 6-inch reach advantage, probably even more than that in this fight. And I just don't trust him to keep the fight standing. Fluffy lands like almost 6 takedowns per 15 minutes. So he's going to land takedowns. And Holland's going to accept the grappling like he always does. So there's no way you can play Holland, even at even money here. I think Fluffy is a much better grappler. I'm personally passing on the entire fight. I haven't really looked at the odds. I honestly hope Holland just comes in and does well because I think he has massive potential, but he's just an idiot. So it's a pass for me right now. But but I don't mind the Fluffy bet. He really, really impressed me his last fight.
Lags, how about you?
Yeah, so I got the odds pulled up actually here. So I got -110 on both sides, and I actually pulled the trigger on Fluffy last night at -120. So I got a little bit of a worse line, but I can't trust Holland here with my money. The low fight IQ is one thing that never will just get past my mind. Like if you have a bad fight IQ, I can't trust you with my money.
Yeah,
simple as that. And I saw an interview with him on another podcast saying that he's going to pressure the fuck out of Kevin Holland. Direct quote. So I think I definitely trust Anthony Hernandez. Just pressure Kevin Holland, get the takedowns, and maybe even get a ground and pound. So
Luke,
I got one unit on Hernandez -120. Sorry, you're good.
Nice. Luke, how about you?
Yeah, I think Quinn pretty much summed it up pretty well for me. We pretty much almost had the same quote in my breakdown I put out 2 days. I literally wrote verbatim, Holland's shown brilliance and idiocy in the matter of minutes. So like you touched on too, Quinn, I think this kid honestly has a massive ceiling.
No, he does.
If he can really put together his game, I think that guy can be a problem for a lot of people. Unfortunately, we just haven't seen that yet. He's on the ground. He's talking to his opponents. He's talking to the crowd at times. He's clowning around in there. And like you said, too, I mean, the guy's going to have a 6-inch reach advantage. I believe he has an 80-plus inch reach in general overall.
81-inch reach, yep.
And so, I mean, especially at that weight class, I mean, you don't see that too often. But then again, what's a reach if you can't utilize it? Kind of a similar comparison, but not a direct one I make here, is a guy in like Maurice Green. And I actually cashed a nice bet against on Alexei Oleinik over Maurice Green because he's another guy who's long, who has some potential, has some tools, but he doesn't know how to utilize them. So if he's going to go and fight a guy who's going to sit there and try to wrestle fuck him, he's screwed because he doesn't know how to fight behind his jab. And Kevin Holland doesn't know how to fight behind his jab. But I guess if I have to say to Kevin Holland's credit, if it's even a thing, I feel like he's a guy who just is going to break out of nowhere. He could also be a complete bust. Similar to what you guys said, I think he's a complete question mark, but I feel like at some point we're going to either see Kevin Holland just really take off, or maybe we never will. Maybe this is the fight, maybe it's not. So just based on his athleticism, he's been able to get by in a lot of these fights. I personally don't rate Fluffy Hernandez that high. So I can I don't think it's a bad bet that you made, John. I don't know if I would have put three units on him there. Because like I said,
3.5 units.
3.5.
3.5.
Just because, like I said, I mean, the guy's crafty, and I think he might just be able to show up. It's similar to like a Michael Johnson with what we just said. He's just kind of one of these wild card type guys. So this fight's a definite pass for me, but I just ended up picking Holland. But so I might be on the opposite side of a lot of you guys for a lot of these picks, but honestly, this card's just kind of a dumpster fire overall.
It's a huge coin flip, honestly.
Yeah, that's why I break down the fights.
I could go less than 50% on picks this fight as long as I cash my bets. I don't give a shit.
Yeah, agree.
That's the only thing that matters. That's it.
Yeah.
All right, next up, we have the immortal Matt Brown taking on Miguel Baeza. Like, dude, I've been joining each other all week about this. I'll let you take this away.
Honestly, I don't know how the hell Matt Brown is getting steamed. He's getting steamed. Miguel Baeza today went from -200 to -145, I'm hearing now. Honestly, that's unbelievable. I think that Miguel Baeza is the faster, crisper striker. He's a more durable fighter. And then I think he's got sweet leg kicks. That's just going to hurt him to the body or hurt him to the head. And I think that Baez is going to knock him out. Probably second round. I wouldn't be surprised a late first round. So I have 2 units parlayed with Miguel Baeza at so I'm opening that up. And then I also have a 3-leg parlay that I'm throwing a half unit on, and I'm throwing Baeza by knockout in there at +125.
Nice. Luke, anything on this?
Just for the pod, I'll let one of you guys take that because I know you got a differing opinion on it.
All right.
Come back to me. Come back to me.
I will come back to you. I will.
I want to hear what you guys have to say.
All right. So basically, my feeling on this fight is, well, I don't know. I haven't bet on it, but it's the over 1.5. But I bet the over primarily because Baez has been pretty low volume. Tends to really stare at his opponent, and I think Brown's probably going to try to avoid range because Baez is definitely the faster striker here and try to clinch him up. So I expect this to be 2.5. Like Baez wouldn't shock me, but at 1.5 -139, I felt like it was definitely worth a stab. As far as the actual fight goes, I personally, who knows? Maybe Baeza comes out here and, his game matches the physique and he goes out there and puts on a clinic. But, like, what I've seen so far is good power and leg kicks. And, like, he doesn't seem like a minutes winner to me. And it's like, I saw Cody Safdie put this out there today, and I felt the same way. It's like Baez is beating Hector Aldana and a bunch of cans. Like, Matt Brown, worst loss of his career was Jake Ellenberger. And, at one point, Ellenberger was pretty good before his chin completely went. So it's like maybe Brown is totally washed, but if it was still +170, I was hoping it was going to go to 200. I might have taken a stab at Brown. I'm not going to, but I am going to pick Brown here. See, anything on this?
Yeah, I like the over. Obviously, there's the chance that, Brown gets tapped in the body and that's the end of his career. But I think Baeza, he doesn't really set up his hands very well. He kind of just throws. Doesn't really have good entries. His best weapon, right, is really just his low kick. And I think Matt Brown's kind of shown previously that he checks low kicks. So not too confident in Matt Brown or Baeza, really. I just think that, in terms of durability, I just think this fight, like you kind of said, it should really just be a 2.5. So I'll take that over. And then, if anything, I think Matt Brown has, a pretty clear advantage if this hits the mat. So I don't see a problem with Brown, but I'm certainly not on the Steam Brown side or Baeza side. So just kind of indifferent, but I think the over 1.5 is pretty good.
Agreed. Quinn, anything from you?
I don't rate Baeza very highly at all. I would never really play him until I see more from him. Matt Brown, you can't play him. He's old. He's brittle. Baeza can finish him. I just don't get how you can lay chalk on Matt Brown personally. I didn't really look into this fight too much. if you want to play anything, maybe the under 2.5. It's -180 on my book, but that's still very, very chalky. Overall, I just think it's a pass fight. I think they just added it because they needed extra fights on the fight card because we had 3.
And Matt Brown needs money.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Had 3 fight cards. I don't think you can't trust Matt Brown. Like he probably
Yeah,
gets
fair.
in the first round. But Baeza is also just horrible. So yeah, it's a complete pass for me, honestly.
Luke, how about you?
Yeah, so originally this fight was a pass for me too, but then Mr. Matt Brown got steamed today pretty good, and yeah, I ended up putting 2 units on Mr. Baeza at -150 today, boys. No, you guys
Let's go, Luke. Come on.
You guys make a lot of good points, but man, I mean, looking at Matt Brown, he's beaten 2 over the hill guys in Diego Sanchez and then Ben Saunders. And let's be honest, he did not, in my opinion at least, he did not look good in that Ben Saunders fight.
No, he looked
getting dominated. He's getting dominated.
And that fight, in my opinion, was a complete tailor-made matchup from the UFC saying, hey, Matt Brown, get a W here. And he made that fight look like shit, to be honest, in my opinion. So I don't particularly rate Baeza extremely high either. But if you're going to give me 60% implied on a 39-year-old guy who has accumulated a ridiculous amount of damage, I'm willing to take that stab. Like, it's at -200, obviously I wouldn't have touched it, but at -150, it intrigues me. I think, for a young guy, I generally don't like to target these type of guys, undefeated, fresh off the Contender Series. Usually I stay away from this. But in this particular matchup, I really like him for a younger guy. I think he's shown a lot of composure there, even in this Contender Series fight. Reina came at him a little bit. I think he weathered that storm, and I assume we're going to get a lot of the same thing from Matt Brown. I think he's going to kind of come at him. Whether he can weather that or not, that's kind of the question here. I'm liking him too. But yeah, I'm willing to take a little 2-unit stab on the younger guy here. I think it's also important to note that I believe he's a black belt as well. He was a brown belt all the way back in 2014. So I can't confirm that, but I would assume in the past 6 years he's probably leveled up. He's taken a bunch of grappling matches as well. So if this fight hits the mat, I don't think it's necessarily Matt Brown by domination, with what some people are looking at too. So.
All right. Can't dispute that. So, on to our next fight, and this is what I think is going to be the fight of the night. Assuming probably some of you agree with me, we got Song Yadong and Marlon Chito Vera. C, I'll let you take this. I know you have a play here.
Yeah, I played the over. I think Song and Chito. I know most people are expecting a finish here, but I think in order for Chito to get a finish, he really would have to take this to the mat. And honestly, from what I've seen from Song, like, he's pretty competent grappler. I don't think it's like, it gets to the mat and Chito automatically subs him or anything. But Chito also doesn't really have, good offensive wrestling. So I don't really think that this hits the mat. And then stand-up wise, like, I think Song has an advantage. His hands are pretty good, but at the same time, like, Cheeto's taking like Lineker's bombs. I mean, the guy's just got
Andrade.
Yeah, Andrade. I mean, there's nothing that I've seen from Chito to say like he's not durable. I just tend to think that this goes to a decision. I mean, I could see Chito maybe having some success on the feet just because he's kind of like long. Maybe he just kind of uses teeps, kicks, but I think Song has a definite pretty good advantage on the feet, but still I don't think he finishes him. If anything, maybe like Song by decision. I think somebody had a good line on that, but
yeah, it was plus 180 at one point, I think.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
That's been getting steamed, actually. It's plus 130 now for me.
Oh, really? Yeah, see, like, I feel like that's like the most likely scenario for Song is winning by decision. I don't really see too many finishes.
Quinn, how about you?
I have 1 unit on Song. I think he's a much better fighter than Vera. I'm a lot less higher on Vera than most people. I think Vera's pretty predictable on the feet. Every time he switches stances, you can tell he likes that left body kick a lot, and he likes that left straight. And when I was watching tape, I was like, oh, here's a left body kick as soon as he switches a stance, and then what do you know? Left body kick. I think Song has fantastic hands. He's fast. He's young. He's powerful. He has good footwork. I think a lot of people were taken aback by the Stamen fight, but I personally thought that he defended a lot of the takedowns very well. He showed very good sprawls himself. He showed good fight IQ. I think Stamen would fucking roll Vera, and Song was pretty competent. Like if Stamen was lucky that he's a very good wrestler and has chain wrestling. I like the over a lot too. Vera has a fantastic chin, and Song is pretty defensively sound on the mat. I think he's gonna take Vera down at least twice in this fight, and I think he's gonna have success holding him there. He has decent wrestling. He trains a Team Alpha Male, and a lot of people don't like Team Alpha Male, but I personally, at like 135 pounds and 145, I think they have a solid team there. A lot of their guys are around that weight, so they can see a lot of good looks there. I think if you're going to bet Vera here, personally, I think you could bet him by sub. I don't really see another liable path to victory. I think he gets lit up on the feet. I think he could possibly even get brutally knocked out. I think Song has a lot of power. And at 145, I think his power might translate there. I think at 145 pounds, this fight definitely favors Song over Vera. Vera has horrible wrestling. He's a decent guard, but I think he's more of a fluke submission type of artist. He can make it competitive on the feet, but like I said, I don't really rate him very high. And I rate Song high. I think he has a lot of potential. I think he's a solid prospect. So yeah, taking Song by decision at plus 175. I personally am not, but I think that's a good bet. And the over is a fantastic bet too. I think Song rules here.
Wags?
Yeah, similar to what C and Quinn said here. I think honestly, Yudong's overall the better fighter and he's fought the better competition. So, but honestly, I don't have a play here. I know my book had Yudong around minus 210 yesterday. I know he's down like minus 170 right now. If it gets a little lower, I would consider a play on Yudong, maybe like minus 160. But as of right now, probably no play. Also because the Yudong by decision line got steamed. But yep, that's about it. It's a pass for me.
Luke, how about you?
Yeah, I'll keep it pretty brief. I think Quinn summed it up pretty well. Minus 150 is my consideration line for Song. Just because of that finishing ability of Vera, I got to give him credit here. But I mean, yeah, if you just look back at the Lineker-Andrade fights, I think in terms of just like stature and overall skill set, Song is probably most comparable to both of those guys in terms of like a smaller, compact striker, excellent in the pocket, good hooks. And then really from there, he's got wins over Luigi Beer, Guido Canetti, Frankie Saenz, Noeline Hernandez, and Andre Ewell. And if we touch on the Buren fight real quick, he was struggling in that first round in that fight too. He lost the first round there. Guido Canetti was bombing him in the first round. And so in those two fights, he obviously ended up finishing in the second. But I think it's important to consider he was getting bombed down there too. But I'll give Vera credit that he's made some improvements. But I think in terms of like an overall complete fighter, this is the best guy he's fighting since John Lineker and Douglas Silva d'Andrade. So I think people are rating Vera and his improvements a little higher maybe than they should have, given the particular stylistic matchup in front of him in Song. So yeah, right now it's not a bet for me. I'm really hoping some Vera money comes in late, and I think it will. Due to his finishing ability, he's flashy, starting to become more known to casuals. So I'm hoping that money comes in because I'd like to hit Song at minus 150. But if he hits minus 160, I'll probably put about 2 or 3 units on him. I really like him in this matchup.
Yeah, so I have a unit on Song decision plus 175, and like I kind of view Cheeto as like the 135-pound Anthony Smith. I was gonna say Anthony Pettis, but Anthony Smith is a heart at least, so it's like. But I mean that's really what he is though, right? Like he's not a good wrestler. His defensive striking is garbage. He's got good cardio, but he's a dynamic finisher who has 0 round winning ability. And he's remarkably durable, similar to Anthony Smith. unfortunately, because less.
Well, and real quick too, John, not to interrupt you. I mean, in terms of like the leg kicks, I know he's got like excellent teeps, and I know Quinn touched on the body kick. But as Quinn touched on too, he's very predictable, and he throws naked kicks all the time. He doesn't set anything up. He doesn't feint. He's kind of like a James Vick is actually a really good comparison. James Vick will throw that teep to the middle, will throw that body kick all day. And what happened, not saying that, once again, not a direct comparison, but a lot of similarities there in those naked shots where someone's going to tag him at one of these points. Yep. And I think Song does have the ability to do that.
Well, I mean, Andre Ewell was tagging him up like during their fight before he gassed out. I mean, and so it's like I played Song decisions. It's like I actually do think Song has like special ability. Like I agreed with the draw, like given the point deduction in the Salmon fight. I think he could have given it either way, but like drawing with Cody Salmon's not that bad. Like I like Salmon a lot, and like the first 2 rounds, he got taken down 4 times and basically was able to either reverse position or get back up with like little difficulty, which is impressive because Salmon's wrestling is pretty legit. So it's like even if Vera can get him down here, I'd be shocked if he can hold him here. And he doesn't really give up his back. He seems pretty responsible defensively. So it's like I kind of agree with C2 and everybody else. Like I think Vera's pretty durable. I could lose this and Song could finish him. Like it wouldn't shock me because he gets hit so much. But I think the minus 200 is too much. And like I really think Song wins this fight by decision 40 to 50% of the time. So it's like so I'm 1 unit for Song by decision.
Yeah, to touch just real quick, like I'll probably hit Song by decision too. I think that's a fantastic line. He's also like he's very, very strong. He's much stronger than Cheeto. He's much bigger than Cheeto. And at 145, I think that's going to be a big factor in this fight. Song's advantage. Just to put that out there. Cheeto's, and he's tall, but he's not that big. Song has a ton of muscle on him. So I think that's going to play a big part here too.
And next
touch real quick.
Yep.
Touch real quick. So Yadong actually by KO is plus 330.
It's not bad.
I know you guys are both on decision, but
that's not bad.
It's not bad.
And that's ITD?
No, that's just by knockout.
Oh, okay. Wow, that's interesting.
Yeah, what's his ITD? 2?
Give me 1 second on that one. So I have Song inside the distance plus 230.
Woo!
I got plus 290 at 5 dimes.
Woo!
And then by KO plus 330.
That seems like pretty plus. I mean, it's not a guarantee. Obviously, nothing's a guarantee.
Right.
It seems like plus EV to play decision in KO. But anyway, next up, we move to the 185-pound division for Eric Yaboy Anders and Christoph Jocko. See, I know you have a play here. You've been leading the charge on Anders all week, so hit us what I'm thinking.
Yeah, no, I definitely, unfortunately, I got in on Anders like right away, like plus 115. Thought he should be like minus 125. But, I guess everybody's going against me on this, taking Jocko, or I don't know, maybe they see something I don't. But in general, I just don't think Jocko's kind of style is going to work too well against Anders. I mean, like he's going to look to, get his offensive wrestling going, and I just don't really see it. I mean, Anders has actually got pretty good takedown defense and is pretty good defensive grappler, at least in my opinion. And I think that, this fight like suits Anders pretty well because Jocko is like pretty low volume as well. And, when you have 2 guys who are like pretty low volume, like one, you most generally want to take, the one who has more power, and that's Anders. And 2, Anders is always moving, like even in like Santos and Roundtree fight. I mean, the guy's constantly moving forward, so he doesn't really accept moving backwards. Whereas Jocko isn't good moving backwards, and when he does move backwards, I mean, he just tends to get plummeted on. So, my opinion, I just think Anders, this is just like a good spot for him. And I don't think Jocko's got that great of striking, if I'm being honest. I mean, he looks a lot more busy than he is because he's just constantly like feinting on his lead foot, just going back and forth. But he's really not that busy on the feet, and what he does offer is pretty minimal. And I don't really think he has much pop on his punches.
Yeah, agreed. Quinn, how about you?
I have 1 unit on Anders. I was able to get him at plus 135. I think this is a great fight for him. Jocko came off of 2 brutal knockout losses. He took 2 years off or something like that. I don't quote me on that. I don't exactly remember.
1 year off after
okay. So
the Brad
1 year off,
Sparks.
and he comes back and he fights 2 bums.
Yep.
Two hand-picked fights for him. I really think I think I had a small play on Barriou. And that fight really frustrated me because I felt like Barriou he could have won a decision if he would have let his hands go a little bit more. I think this is a really bad matchup for Jocko. Anders is he's a brown belt in jiu-jitsu. He has pretty solid takedown defense. So I don't really, and what's Jocko's game? Spamming takedowns along the fence and grinding people. And Anders is a fantastic athlete. He played college football for Alabama. And I'm pretty sure he won the national championship with them. He's just a natural athlete, way better athlete in my opinion than Jocko. I don't see Jocko having any success landing takedowns on Anders at all. So it's going to be a striking battle. And like C said, Anders, he frustrates me a lot because he doesn't throw in volume. But he walks people down and he's not afraid to get hit. And I think he's an all-around better striker. I think he has the power here. If he strings his combos together against Jocko, pushes Jocko up against the fence, I definitely think he can knock Jocko out. Jocko's chin is very suspect. I also think he could probably take Jocko down. We haven't seen a whole lot of Anders' top game, but he's a brown belt in jiu-jitsu, so I think he's fairly seasoned. But I think he has a significant advantage on the feet here. Jocko's he's so low volume and he doesn't fight well off the back foot at all. So I was shocked. I personally capped Eric at around minus 120 here. So getting him at plus 135, very happy with the line. Hopefully he doesn't prove me wrong.
Lag.
Yeah, actually, pretty nice. You guys pretty much covered everything I was about to say. So I think Anders is gonna keep this fight standing. And I think if it's a striking battle with Jocko, I think Jocko's chin is going to deteriorate. It already is deteriorating. So I think I think Anders is live for a KO. So I played Anders 1 unit on plus 140. And then in that half unit long shot parlay, I threw in Anders by KO at plus 310. So I just think that Anders is going to be able to keep, like you said, fight standing. And then I know they both throw low volume, but I think Anders is going to throw the more powerful volume. So I think that's going to end up winning him decision if it ends up getting that far, but I honestly don't even see it getting that far.
Luke, how about you? Luke, I can't hear you right now.
And he's
You're muted.
unmuted. Yep.
Can you guys hear me now?
Yeah, there you go.
All right. Yeah, so I don't want to say I'm going necessarily the other way, you guys. I don't have a play on this card particularly. I think in terms of Anders' credit, I mean, if you really look down the rundown of who he's fought, the dude's just gotten a really lot of funky matchups, Maluco Perez, Lyoto Machida, Thiago Santos, Elias Theodoro is going to sit there and run around. Then he fought Khalil Roundtree, who's like this brand new Muay Thai striker, fights Vinicius Moreira, who's this jiu-jitsu specialist, but a walking zombie on the feet, Gerald Mearshard, who's a submission specialist. Like the dude's got just a lot of really funky matchups throughout the course of his career. So I mean, I don't disagree with you guys in terms of analysis, but Jocko, in my opinion, is another one of those guys who I just think just has a shitload of potential. And similar to like a Michael Johnson, I think it's between the ears with him. It's all mental with that guy. I feel like he has also a particularly high ceiling. And if he can figure his shit out and not fight like a dumbass sometimes, I think he beats a guy like Eric Anders a good amount of times. But to your guys' point, I think from a stylistic perspective, Eric Anders does present some issues here for Jocko. So I'm curious to see how he handles it. I mean, both guys, they had 3-fight losing streaks. They just came back, got 2-fight winning streaks. So they're both on a bit of a resurgence in their career, if you have to say anything. But should be a good fight. I lean Jocko, but no plays for me here.
Yeah, so I played Anders for a unit and a half plus 135. I'll try not to jump too far into what you guys talked about, but just a couple quick things real quick. So it's like, I think, like, I don't disagree with you, Luke, that Jocko's talented, but I do think he's become overrated in a sense. Like people kind of act like, oh, you know, Jocko's lost 3 in a row because of his chin prior to the Amandowski fight. And it's like, well, his best career win is probably Talis Leites. Like, he hasn't exactly gone out there and, you know, smashed a bunch of high-level competition. In fact, every time he stepped up, you know, he lost, really. Now, I'm not saying Anders is high-level, by the way. Like, that's not what I'm saying. But just that kind of, I think there's a perspective on Jocko, and I understand it looking at the tape, but, you know, he really hasn't shown the ability to beat elite competition yet. A couple other things, just basically, you know, Jocko, we talked about volume. They're both low volume. Jocko doesn't, I mean, basically, he hasn't landed more than 42 significant strikes since 2015 in a fight. Like, we've seen Anders land over 65 3 times. So his upside just seems higher. And also, Anders comes forward. And that's like a huge thing to me. You know, he's going to be on the front foot. And in a low volume fight where I think one guy's going to be likely hitting a little bit harder, and that guy's the guy that's coming forward, I have to favor him. I count him about minus 122 here. And I just don't, you know, I think Jocko's a good grappler. I think he's about the same level as Anders. I wish Anders grappled more, to be honest. I think his grappling game has been underrated. So, yeah, I mean, I have Anders here, 1.5 units plus 135. And then next up, we got another great fight here. So this main card's actually pretty damn good. But we got Dan Ige against Edson Barboza. And I have no play here. I've waffled back and forth all week between the two, which tells me I definitely shouldn't be betting it. So I think I kept Barboza as a slight favorite just based on kind of, you know, pedigree and level of competition. But I do think my big issue with Ige is, like, he does come forward, but I don't think he pressures hard enough. Like, if you told me he was going to be in Barboza's face, in the pocket, initiating the clinch, I'd have a lot more confidence in him. But he kind of, like, he moves forward, but he kind of stays, like, in kicking range. And, like, if you're staying in kicking range with Barboza for too long, like, you're going to get shoot up. And so it's like, I think he has the tools, you know, if he maybe ups that aggression a bit to make this fight competitive, take down Barboza, like, if he pursues takedowns in volume, which he should, but he's done a little less his last couple fights. So I think he has the tools to win this fight. I'm a bit afraid he's going to be a bit tentative coming in. And if that's the worst thing you can do with Barboza. So, I don't know. I have a very slight lean Barboza. Like, I have no issue anybody playing either side, though. I can see it either way. It's a pass for me. Luke, I know you can play here. What do you think?
Yeah, I'm going the other way from you guys. I really like Dan Ige here. Been talking to my boy Eric Nixick at Extreme Couture, and all I'm going to say is that I'm very confident that they're going to come in with the correct game plan here. Once again, assuming he executes on it, you know, Barboza is not an easy guy to fight by any means, but you know, we've kind of seen a similar blueprint from him. I know we've also kind of heard that, you know, this is a massive step down in competition for Edson Barboza, and I can't disagree. I mean, look at his last 5 fights: Khabib, Kevin Lee, Dan Hooker, Justin Gaethje, Paul Felder, all top 10 guys. But if we're going to look at this from a stylistic perspective, I really think Dan Ige and the tools he has presents a lot of problems for Edson Barboza here. And I think it is largely insinuated based on the fact that he really is going to have to get Barboza to the ground and take him down. Because if he's not able to establish some top time early, I think that's going to really inhibit his striking later on. So I know I've also heard a lot of narrative that Ige is just completely incapable of striking with Barboza, and that's where I kind of disagree. It really all comes from, I think, where he decides to strike. If it's in the center of the cage and at range, and Barboza is just able to get off on those kicks, you know, historically, as we've seen throughout the course of his entire career, sure, he'll probably have a field day with Ige, but if he's got Barboza behind the black line and he's able to work those strikes in the pocket, and then from there ultimately set up his takedowns, I think that's where Ige has some success too. And in terms of when the fight actually hits the mat, assuming it does, Barboza is very good defensively in terms of jiu-jitsu, but he's not a guy out there who's sweeping guys. And we've seen him I don't want to say accept bottom position because he will try to work back up, but he has had issues being controlled. People are going to say, oh, but that's by Khabib and that's by Kevin Lee. Dan Ige is nowhere on the level. I get that. All I'm saying is from a stylistic perspective, Dan Ige presents those tools. He has solid, decent boxing. He's got decent wrestling. He's got good double legs, good entries at times. And he's a black belt in jiu-jitsu. And, really where Dan Ige has really only struggled outside of his debut against Julio Arce has been in the grappling and making a few bad decisions, trying to be too aggressive in terms of submissions. And in case then he's getting reversed and then he's accepting bottom position. In a fight like this, I don't see that type of thing where he's going to be like losing that second round to a Kevin Aguilar or a Jordan Griffin or a Mirsad Bektik. Like I do not see that here. So would I be surprised if Barboza comes out here and steams him with something? No, but I mean, I ended up sweeping up Ige at plus 132 for 2 units. It touched there for like 10 minutes, and I just jumped on that line. Like I said, if Barboza steams him here, I wouldn't be surprised. But I think from a stylistic perspective, Dan Ige presents all the tools necessary to beat a guy like Edson Barboza.
Wags, how about you?
Yeah, actually, not much else to say. It's a pass for me, to be honest. It's probably one of the toughest fights to call in recent memory. To be honest, I think toughest fight recent memory would probably be the Zhang and the JJ fight. I think that was probably the toughest fight to call, I would imagine. But I think, like Luke was saying, at plus 130, I think that's definitely value on Ige. But I think if it gets minus 115 Barboza, I could see you making a case for either side here. It's a pass for me, but I think, I don't know. Honestly, I have no idea. I think it's going to be a close decision, but that's it for me. It's a pass. Not looking at
Quinn, how about you?
I have no play, but I like Barboza here. He's going to have a 4 inches of height, 4 inches of reach. And I thought he looked a lot better on the scales than I originally thought he would look. And he's going to rehydrate up and be significantly bigger tomorrow than Ige. I think when I was watching tape on Ige and I was comparing him to Barboza's striking, I think he stays on the feet too long for my liking against Barboza. And he hasn't shown me that he can just grind Barboza. Barboza has 80% takedown defense. He's only struggled against 2 elite wrestlers that are way better than Ige on the mat. Barboza does very, very well at defending the initial takedown. What he struggles with is chain wrestling. And with the size advantage that he has, I don't know if Ige is going to successfully be able to implement that game plan. So I don't really think there's any value on Ige at the current line. I was hoping that Barboza would come down to like minus 120, minus 115. He hasn't, so it's a definite pass for me. But I personally think that Barboza is going to have a significant size advantage over a lot of these featherweights. And I do think that the way he looked on the scales today, a lot of people are saying he was shrunk. He was very skinny, yes, but he's going to rehydrate. He's going to hydrate back up and be significantly bigger than a lot of these featherweights. And he's going to have a significant striking advantage. I mean, he's going to be landing spinning heel kicks to Ige's stomach. He's going to be landing leg kicks that Ige's never felt before. People are talking shit about Barboza's boxing. Barboza has decent boxing. He just doesn't do well pressured, and I just can't trust Ige to implement the game plan that Justin Gaethje implemented against him. I just can't do that. So if I'm gonna look at the line, if late money comes in on Ige and I can get Barboza at like close to even odds, I will stab that. But otherwise, I think you should just stay off and just live bet this.
Yeah.
Hey, how about you?
Yeah, definitely one of the more harder fights to call, but I've kind of been going back and forth in my opinions on this, and it's mostly like a question of, look, where does this fight play out? Is Barboza maintaining range and distance, or is Ige able to pressure him and have exchanges in the pocket and land some takedowns? I do think Dan's definitely I went back and I looked, and I guess, from what I could tell, it does seem like his hands are improving. And I mean, I think he's going to have better boxing here, right? I mean,
Yeah.
I don't think, I don't know. Yeah, I tend to lean that like there's more value on Dan, but I'd probably just play like doesn't go to decision. I mean, we won't know. It is probably a good spot to live just to see what like Dan's reaction is to the first leg kick he takes. But yeah, I mean, this is a tough fight. I will say though that Ige's style is like tailor made to beat Barboza. Like that is kind of what you draw up to beat Barboza. Somebody who's going to pressure, somebody who can land some takedowns. So I'm passing for now, but.
All right.
The under. Sorry, real quick. The under 2.5 is plus 150.
There you go.
If you look at that,
I might play that actually. One aside here, if Barboza does win, I'd really love to see him fight Calvin Kattar because he kicks his fucking leg off. That would be great.
Wow. I mean, would you bet Barboza there?
I think I'd get plus money, and if so, yes. That's
really.
Yeah.
Plus 120. Plus 120. Plus 120.
I gotta say it, but I think I would, to be honest with you. I think maybe not. I'd have to go back to it. We'll get into it when it happens. Hopefully.
Yeah.
So co-main event: Claudia Gadelha, Angela Hill. No play here personally for me. Claudia should kill her. Like honestly, like she really should. I just, we all know the narrative with Claudia at this point. It's like, I don't know if Hill, it's hard to tell with Hill whether or not she's made adjustments to her bottom game. If she hasn't, then it probably doesn't, Claudia's guessing probably doesn't matter. But if she has, and she can give Claudia issues, it's hard to rely on the cardio to be there late in the fight. And like, basically Claudia has to win the first 8.5 minutes of this fight. Has to have the gas to do that. And if she does, she's going to win because Angie's not going to finish her. But if Hill's made adjustments and improved her get-ups, like you could see Claudia's gas tank start to go in that second round, and then Hill just starts to put it on her. And so it's a pass for me. Like I think Claudia's probably going to end up looking at the value side of it. I just don't trust her at a big number. Quinn, I know you have a play here. What do you think?
So I love Claudia here. I've been on her all week. I think I might be a little biased on this because she's one of my favorite fighters, but she's one of the best grapplers in the division. She's a high-level black belt, and Angela Hill is going to she already knows. She's going to realize there's levels to this game. Randa Marcos took her down and subbed her like it was absolutely nothing. She got that armbar on her. I think Claudia is even going to be able to land takedowns in the third round. She's been working with Mark Henry on her striking for quite a while now. She's been in camp for months, and she looks fantastic at weigh-ins. I just think she rolls here. I really think that she lands takedowns whenever she wants. Angela Hill is very content with playing guard. And while people might say that she has a decent guard, there's levels to this. She's going to throw up a triangle. Claudia's going to pass the side control and smash her. I think Claudia can get into half guard position, posture up, and just pound her out, or she can find a sub. Claudia has a fantastic back take. She's fantastic off her back too. If Angela Hill somehow manages to get on top in a scramble, which I don't see happening, Claudia's going to reverse her so quick. It's not even going to be funny. As in terms of on the feet, Angela Hill, I don't like her striking defense very much. She does land at high output, but like I said, Claudia has been working on her striking a lot with Mark Henry, and Claudia is not a dumb fighter. She's smart. She's fought the best fighters in the world. If she comes out here and strikes for 3 rounds like she did her last fight, she will lose, but I don't see her doing that. I think she will land takedowns whenever she wants, and I like to bet fighters who dictate the pace, who dictate where the fight goes. I laid money down on Claudia at -195. I don't suggest people doing that personally. I was hoping to get her at like -170. I know Mike got her at -165, which is a absolutely fantastic line. If you want to play Claudia by decision, I don't know exact. I think it's like minus 125.
Minus 125.
Yeah, you can play her there. I think that's a decent line, but I also honestly think that she can sub Angela. I don't see any value on Hill here. It's a absolutely awful matchup for her. And plus, I saw on Instagram that Hill has been hitting pads at her gym for like the past couple of weeks. I know she got into the gym and started training a little bit, but since the quarantines happened, she's been legit in her garage and backyard hitting pads. So I don't know how much grappling she's actually trained. And to fight a grappler on Claudia's level, you're gonna need a full camp for that. Like you're gonna need a full camp for that. And if Claudia's smart, she'll just smash her on the ground. That's just my personal opinion.
Lags, how about you?
Yeah, to actually touch up in the chat real quick. DX says Hill has more recent fights than anyone on the card. I would definitely think so.
There's 6 since 2019,
Yeah,
I think.
definitely.
Yeah. So to be honest, for me, it's a complete pass. I think Claudia by decision is a good line. But I think she could easily kill her on the ground, like ground and pound, or easily sub her out, depending on how good Angela's ground game is really improved. So I don't really want to lay chalk with a decision and then her just finishing her maybe second round. So for me, it's a pass, but I definitely lean Claudia here. Oh, and Quinn, Reboss is hotter. Just the facts.
Luke, what do you got here?
Yeah, I'm definitely not on the Claudia train here. I'm not running the window to bet Hill. I don't disagree with any of his points. I think this definitely is a matchup that should favor her. But then again, I think she kind of falls into that Renan Barão Brazilian blueprint, as I like to call it. You know, we're gonna get a strong first round, we're gonna get a dicey second round, and then we're gonna give away the third round. So if we're I'm not happy with laying -2 to 1 on that personally. I think Angela Hill has made some improvements in recent years. I think her takedown defense has got a little bit better. Once again, not running to the window to bet Hill. I think this is probably, in terms of live betting opportunities, probably the best one on this card. Right after the second round, I think we're probably going to see a dominant first from Claudia. I think we're going to see a dicey second. And so I'm really curious to see what the odds makers have that line after the second round there. But yeah, I mean, I think
What
Claudia
would make you hit Hill after round 2? What line?
Well, I mean, I think right now, just straight up, she's like plus 300 by decision. Hill is.
Yeah.
So
+4, I think.
Is she?
Is she really?
Plus
Wow.
4?
I think she's +4 on mine.
Wow.
+4 by
Last
decision?
time was +400.
Is she really? Wow.
Yeah. So
she's gonna have to light
That might be a sneaky
on the
one.
feet. She's gonna
Yeah,
have to light feet to deter from a takedowns.
So I have Claudia by 3 round or Hill by 3 round plus 220.
That got bet up. She's +240 by decision right now.
but yeah, I'm.
Not enough for me.
I mean,
Yeah.
just to finish
Not
up real
nearly
quick.
enough.
Just to finish up real quick. I mean, I like Claudia. Ultimately, I just think we've seen absolutely zero evolution from her throughout the course of her entire career. She's largely been the exact same fighter. You know, she beat Courtney Casey, then she beat Carolina right after Carolina lost the title to Joanna, and then obviously Carolina dropped off a cliff, gets steamed by Andrade, has a questionable fight with Esparza, which arguably I think she lost, loses clearly to Ansaroff, and then beats Randa Marcos when Randa Marcos just sat behind the black line for 3 rounds and threw. I think she only landed 25 significant strikes. So ultimately, in my opinion, what has Claudia Gadelha done to impress me in recent years? Pretty much absolutely nothing. So would I be surprised if Angela Hill weasels a decision here? No. I mean, I think personally, from a pick perspective, I like Claudia Gadelha 29-28, but sorry, Quinn, I'm going against you here. I would not lay 2 to 1 on Claudia Gadelha in this spot.
See, how about you?
I tell people to bet it. I said that's a personal pick, kind of.
See, what about you?
I actually kind of think the under's pretty good value play here. Mostly because I think if Claudia just has a bunch of top time, like she's gonna finish Hill. I mean, unless Hill's made some drastic changes, which like there's zero evidence of that. And like Quinn, you mentioned this. I mean, she's been training in her backyard and she's basically training with her husband, who's her striking coach. So like she probably hasn't gotten any, grappling in. And on top of that, I mean, she's going like fight to fight to fight. So like I tend to think that she's like not even like really in, like she's very much in and out of the gym, and she's not getting like a full camp like pretty much ever. So I actually don't even think that it's like, I think it's a pretty big disadvantage to have like 7 fights and you're constantly in and out rather than just having a full 8 weeks. So I mean I just think if Claudia is lands a takedown, she probably has a bunch of top times. She has a bunch of top times. She's probably finishing Hill based on everything that we've seen from Hill. And then on the flip side, there's complete possibility after 7.5 minutes that Claudia gasses, and Hill throws an extreme amount of output. So it wouldn't surprise me if there was like a late stoppage, just because she does throw like output and she has some pretty good elbows. So I mean I can see that. But yeah, I mean I think it's like Claudia, or if you're playing Hill, I don't know. I don't really have a strong opinion there. I just think the under has some value.
So
All
plus
right.
250 right now.
Oh,
Yeah.
really? I would have thought it'd been a little higher than that, but
Yep, plus 250. Yep. And I know in the chat they were talking. Can you guys touch on the Francis and Jones fight? I don't know if you guys want to do that now at the end of the card.
let's do it after the main event. We
Let's
can
do
do
that
it
at the
real
end.
quick.
Yep.
Yeah. So up next, that main event of the evening, we got Walt the Big Ticket Harris against Alistair the Demolition Man Overeem. I'm on Harris for 2.5 units. I picked it up at -160, so I missed the line. But I'm seeing the same argument I see for Overeem every time he fights somebody who's not like Stipe or one of the top 3 heavyweights in the world, which is basically, Overeem's so skilled, there's value on him. People are just underestimating because of his chin. And I played Overeem against, Jairzinho, and that was pretty clearly the right side of that fight. But like, I don't know what everybody saw in that fight, because he looked terrible. Like, he was winning the fight because Jairzinho is not very good. Like, the guy stands completely square half the. Yeah, but like even that, Overeem's takedown attempts, they were all just trying to work a body lock and drag him down. Like, he wasn't shooting singles or doubles. He only attempted 76 strikes at range the entire fight. He actually got outlanded for the fight. So it's like, I keep seeing this argument that's like, if this fight goes deep, Overeem's crafty, which I agree. That's probably, look, we all know how decorated he is, but K1 Overeem is long dead. Strikeforce Overeem is long dead. Like, this is Alistair Overeem, who's going to be 40 on Sunday, who is getting by basically on being crafty and technique. And that gets you places, but he doesn't throw a high output. In fact, you actually look at his striking accuracy, it's 62%, which is the highest in history, which is great, but that's also because heavyweights are notoriously bad defensively. His output's horrible. When you look at Harris, now I know the level of competition's been lower, but Harris' striking defense is about 61%, which is really high for heavyweight. Like, I'd be shocked if Overeem lands at more than a 50% rate. So it's like, even if this went to decision, I expect Harris to be the guy who's kind of moving forward the whole fight. And I expect volume to be fairly similar. And in that case, I would give Harris, I would call probably even, just because like we don't, Harris has some gas tank questions. But even there, I think Harris actually does. I think he's got issues with his gas tank, but I think he does a decent job conserving it. He tends to throw in combination real quick and then not throw until he can get you against defense again. But my point either way is that like, I don't think Overeem, if this fight goes late, is necessarily a guarantee to win a decision. And in fact, I think it's a real close fight if it goes to that. Harris, a big, explosive athlete who I think has made serious improvements over his time here. I don't think Overeem is going to be able to just drag him down to the ground via a body lock. I think he's too strong for that. And then you have to, when you're capping this fight, think about the fact, how high is the KO possibility here? And I think it's pretty freaking high. The reality is Overeem's chin is that. And Jairzinho Rosenstruck, look, I said this on the last pod, but the Suriname Vietnamese kickboxing scene is nothing special. Like, this guy was not some elite striker And so the fact that, Overeem could kind of avoid him made sense. And while I wouldn't say Harris is an elite striker, he's far faster. He's far more athletic. And if Overeem does what he did with Olynyk and Jairzinho, where he just covers up to the head, he's going to get finished. Like that, Harris finishes everybody that does that to him. So it's like I cap Harris at like around 50% or better to finish Overeem. But even if it doesn't, like I still think he's got a good chance to win a decision. So I think the line's pretty off. I do see the angle because I've played Overeem on that angle before. I just think here it's the wrong spot for me. So Lags, what do you think? I have 2.5 units of Overeem minus 160.
Yeah, so I actually have 2 units closing my parlay with Beza with Walt Harris here. So I have a plus 150 there, and I also have that half unit long shot parlay. It's plus 1661 with Walt by KO here. So I think similar. I'm not going to make a direct comparison to the Jocko Anders fight, but it's somewhat similar. If I think if Overeem can get the fight to the ground, he's got a good chance of winning it. But if he keeps it standing, he's got no chin. It's deteriorating, and Walt can find it easily in 5 rounds.
Yeah.
Not much more
Luke?
breakdown. Yep.
Sorry.
No, go ahead. Go.
Luke, you're up. Luke, you're on mute, dude.
You're on mute.
Yeah, I was gonna say I can't hear him. Yep.
Oh,
Now he's
you
good.
guys hear me now?
Yep.
All right. Well, I'm gonna play contrarian again here. I like Overeem here. Once again, not betting it though, just from a pick perspective. Man, a big thing I looked at in terms of Walt Harris is, a lot of people don't realize the guy's had 13 UFC fights, and out of all 13 of those, the guys went to decision 3 times. So if we're looking from like a stylistic perspective, if this gets extended potentially, what can be some potential comparisons? The 3 guys that extended him, we got Jared Rosholt, Shamil Abdurakhimov, and Andrei Arlovski. And the 3 commonalities between all those guys, obviously some differences. Both guys were able to, at least in terms of Rosholt and Shamil, they were able to grind him out a little bit. And then Arlovski was kind of able to play the waiting game. So I think in terms of if you're on Harris here, you obviously have to be on him in terms of knockout. I'm going to have to disagree with you there, John. I do not see Walt Harris winning a decision in any stretch of the imagination in this fight. He's a very big, explosive guy. I don't see him being able to throw that power over the course of 5 rounds. Like I said, we've only seen him go to decision 3 times. This is his first 5-round fight. So if in terms of path to victory, I think he has to knock Overeem out here. But if Overeem is able to play that outside game with them, I feel like he can make a miss at times. And I feel like that's when Overeem can ultimately find his opportunities to either finish him or outpoint him over the course of 5 rounds. And in terms of if we're going to make like somewhat of a comparison, I feel like this is very, very similar to a fight we saw on Wednesday night in Andrei Arlovski and Felipe Lins. Everybody thought Felipe Lins was going to come here and just starch Andrei Arlovski. What did Arlovski do? He played that outside game. He played that point fighting game. He kind of adapted that style. And what happened? And Lins couldn't really find the chin. Now, if you were to make somewhat of a difference between Harris and Lins, I think Harris is probably a little bit more aggressive, a little bit more explosive, where Lins is a little bit more technical. But ultimately, man, I can't see laying chalk on Walt Harris here. I would definitely need a better price on Overeem. A lot of monies came in on him, but largely, I'm honestly just not impressed with Walt Harris overall. It's heavyweight MMA, and just as a general rule, I will rarely ever lay chalk, at least from a straight perspective on a heavyweight MMA fight. I'm almost exclusively looking to bet dogs just because of the volatility of the division. Would I be surprised if Harris comes in here and starches him? No, but I just think with the adaptation of Overeem's style in recent years, if he can avoid that big shot from Harris, I think he'll really start to take over the latter rounds in this fight and either secure a late finish or grind him up by decision.
Just a quick point. Reem's actually, his fight with Jairzinho was the first time he'd ever left the 3rd round in his entire career. And I just didn't think his cardio looked that good, like going late in that fight either. But I take your point. C, you got anything on that fight?
Yeah, I played Harris pretty big. I actually think Harris is actually like a legit boxer. That's like kind of how he grew up. In the amateurs, I think he was like 20-1 boxing. I mean, he has quick hands for heavyweight. And Overeem you've seen this time and time again. He like shells up against the cage from pressure. And if he's shelling up against the cage and just covering up versus Walt Harris is finishing him. There's not any doubts in my mind that that's what's going to happen. At least if, Reem is just against the cage. And honestly, in order for Reem to kind of win a decision, you have to think that he's landing takedowns and having top control in significant time. And I actually think Harris, his wrestling is like not terrible. It seems like maybe it's improved. And like Overeem didn't do much versus Yair with the top time he had, right? I mean, Yair doesn't have any get-ups, nothing.
Any ground game at all.
Right. And I mean, he couldn't finish him. So, I think the Reem aspect of this is like he looked exhausted. I'll say that versus Yair the later that fight went. And I've never seen anything to really indicate that Walt Harris is just going to gas out. Even versus Arlovski, he looked pretty live in round 3. He's moving well. Good combinations, massive speed advantage here. I just think Walt Harris is going to kind of walk through Reem, who's kind of just seemed like a shell of himself in his last fight. So I think you have, in ascending Walt Harris, and you have someone like Reem who's kind of on the decline. And I wouldn't, I wouldn't be surprised if Walt Harris won a decision either, because I think for Reem to win a decision, he's going to really have to land some takedowns, because I don't really think he's going to have much success. Walt Harris has pretty good defense, pretty good movement. And Reem just doesn't at this stage. And I guess the other thing is, if you're playing Reem, rather than sweat, his chin, just take the over 1.5, because Reem's not finishing Harris in 7.5 minutes. Just not going to happen. Could be wrong, but highly doubt it.
Quinn, how about you?
So I will probably end up, I don't know what the KO line is on Harris, but I'll probably end up playing that.
About even money, I think.
What is it?
Yeah, minus 120.
Not
Minus
even
120 I
money.
have.
Okay, yeah, I love
For
that
me.
one. I don't see how you can play Reem here. He significantly declined. I thought he looked like absolute shit versus Rosenstruck. You guys all know how I feel about that fight. That fight frustrated the hell out of me. Reem's takedown entry seemed very, very labored. They seemed like he was hesitating on them. He did not have any confidence in them at all. I actually do think he landed a double leg there. But it was so labored. Like there is many people at my gym who could defend Reem's takedowns that he landed. They were horrible. And Rosenstruck has no ground game. He's absolutely awful. Like I touched on last week, there are blue belts, white belts that could tap Rose. He's that bad. Reem had the half guard position many times on Roz and didn't do shit with it. Like the entire time, I was like, why is he not posturing up and pounding this motherfucker out? Like, why? He could have ended that so quick there. Also, at the end when Rosenstruck landed that power shot, Reem's fucking lip was hanging off. It was horrible. It was disgusting. And how long ago was that? Like 6-7 months ago?
It was six
Not
months
even.
ago.
Not even.
So he's
December.
coming back off of that heavy of an injury. Like his lip was hanging off of his face. I don't trust his durability at all. Harris has a horrible matchup for him. Harris has decent wrestling. I don't think if Reem hesitates to get Harris down, he's not landing takedowns. He's not going to land takedowns. Harris is a huge heavyweight. He's a big guy. He has fantastic boxing. I think he has like C touched on. He has way sharper hands than Alistair has pocket wise. Reem also hesitated to land shots in 5 rounds. In that fight, he just didn't see himself at all. So personally, I don't see how you could anyway bet Reem here. Like C said, the over 1.5. If you're going to bet Reem here, you should bet him there. I personally think Harris finishes Reem here. I don't know how Harris is going to look. We don't need to go into details about what happened with his daughter. It was absolutely horrible. But I don't know how Harris is going to look here. But from what I'm seeing on social media, it seems like he wants to fight and he's ready. And this is not a good matchup for him at all. Harris hits hard as fuck.
Anders said that they had a full camp too.
The first 2 rounds.
Yeah.
What did you say, Steve?
Anders said that him and Harris have had a full camp. So, I mean, they've had no effects from the lockdown or anything. They've brought in training partners. Anders said that, they've basically been 100% open. So,
I just think that he's Reem is coming back way too early. He fights way too frequently for my liking in general. Like, he's old too. Like, I think he should have. I expected him to take a solid year off.
Well, Harris isn't exactly young though either.
Yeah.
No.
Hey, if I was going to pay $800K for a heavyweight match, I think I'd be getting out there as fast as possible.
Yeah. I just think that he should have taken more time off. Personally,
something that might be fun going forward is that we'll just actually start tracking these picks and go over all of them here. So get a little bit of a reward when you go out on an island here and pick something right. Maybe get a graphic up here and just put the tracker here and see how it goes. It'd be pretty cool.
Yeah. It'd be cool.
Yeah.
So, all right. So that's what we got here. You guys want to hit the Jones Francis thing real quick? Everybody just pick two real quick about it. I hope it happens. Personally, I think Jones would kill him, to be honest. Obviously, Francis could land on him, but I said it last week. Francis swings real wide, and he's waiting to get double leg coming in, charging like that. And if John Jones gets on top of him, it's not going to be like Stipe. It's going to be savagery. That's my opinion. Luke, you got anything on that?
Yeah, I pretty much agree. I mean, if he sits there and tries to bum rush a guy like he did in Rosenstrike and John Jones, it's probably not going to play out too well for him. So not really sure what a line would be on that, but I'd definitely be
Jones is
Francis
plus 130.
favored. Yeah.
What's that?
Jones is plus 130 and minus 160.
All right. Well, it looks like I might be getting a little John Jones action.
I guess I'll go up next. I'll be honest. I'm completely opposite. But to be honest, from a money line perspective, I probably wouldn't touch Francis at all until probably right before the fight, because I imagine all the Jones money is going to come in, and you could probably get Francis minus 120, maybe even flips. I have no idea, but I think Ngannou round 1 might be just a small fun bet, and then I think if it doesn't end round 1, Jones probably finishes him late. But I'm a huge fan of Francis, and so I think that a small bet on first round, if it's good plus money, I would take a shot and then just watch the rest for fun.
Quinn?
If Jones is smart, he'll just take Francis down off his looping hooks. Francis has no technique when he throws. He just has ungodly power. I don't think Jones has looked good his last couple of fights. I definitely think he's regressing. But I personally think he's a really bad matchup for Francis. I mean, like Lax said, if this gets out of the first round, it's Jones' fight to win 100%. He has a significant wrestling and grappling advantage. I think he's going to do well at heavyweight personally. We've all anticipated this move from him. I love Francis, but unless he incorporates some technical boxing and he works on his wrestling a lot more, like, you can only rely on landing looping hooks for a certain amount of fighters. When you fight people like DC, and when you fight people like Stipe, they're going to exploit you. And Francis is now at that level. Personally, if he fought Blades a third time, I would lay chalk on Blades again.
Wow.
Yeah, Jones is maybe like minus 350 to me.
That's about how
I would take that plus 270 all day.
I mean, like in actuality, like Francis has Francis has zero skills. Like he doesn't do anything.
He's working with Mike Tyson right now. He's working with boxing right now.
There's like a conception that like he could just like go into boxing and like face like a top.
No,
15
I don't agree with
boxer.
that.
And then
Lags, you think he's drilling sprawling with Tyson?
no footwork.
No. Listen, I know he's probably working some footwork with Tyson. I don't agree that he could just step into boxing and just fight some top 15 guy and just smoke him. But I mean,
No.
I
Francis
think
doesn't
he's
even.
definitely working on a clinic.
Francis doesn't even
ahead.
touch like a top 50 heavyweight boxer. Not even close.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Agreed.
But yeah, I
All
just
right.
think Jones is good.
But yeah, for this,
that is-
if this super fight happens, John, you got to come up with that little that tracker for the on the island.
Oh no, I'm gonna make. I'm gonna
I
do
will
that
be on
this
the island with
week.
Francis.
That's
then.
happening this week. So
All right.
anyway, so that's it for episode number 3. I don't know what your guys' plans are tomorrow night after. If I'm not too intoxicated, I might. And if the card is worth discussing, might be down to hop on a live stream after.
No, we just get
But
on
yeah,
and do
so
it.
that's episode.
We should just
What
get
was
on and do it. I'll be drunk too. Fuck it. It might be fun.
Or we could get real out of control real quick.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks for joining us, guys. You can find us all on Twitter. You can find C at CHanson10, Quinn at Orthodox1993. We have Lags at Lags_the Capper. We have Luke at Sparring with Reality Betting. He's at SWR MMA. And you can also find Luke is at SWRMMA.com.
It's the handle is SWR_betting, and then the site is SWRMMA.com.
There you go. All right, guys. And we will be back in 2 weeks for this again.
Yep.
And if we do end up going on tomorrow night, I'll send something out on Twitter. But thanks for joining us. Take it easy, folks.